Oh, Canada. That's all I know about it. That's the only thing I know about that national anthem. I'm sorry. Well, folks, it's Bound for Impact. Richie's back. I'm back. And today we are covering one of the best factions in the early years of TNA Wrestling, Team Canada. First off, how are you, Richie? How's everything going?
I'm doing well. I can't wait to talk about our faction up north and one of the I feel like unsung cornerstones of TNA, at least within the early years. Not only just the different concepts that they were trying at the time, but also we got a couple of stars that split off after the dissension of Team Canada as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, well, my first big question I have for you is who is your favorite member of Team Canada and why is it A1?
Well, he does provide the steak sauce, That's why, it's the brand deal. Everyone's been saying like, "Oh, we don't like the Slim Jim logos on the tables." Well, no, it's not so fast. We had a whole wrestler that was branded after steak sauce.
Absolutely.
Now, of course,
Absolutely.
no, of course, that wasn't the actual sponsor of TNA Wrestling, but A1, yeah, he was the powerhouse of it, and I just remember A1 as like in general from TNA because back when they had like their website, A1 was obviously the first person that you
Yeah.
would see because A and 1.
Hey, good way to be seen. Go to the roster, first base.
Yeah, that's
Well, we can go through a little bit of the history. We'll go
Mhm.
through some of the like notable feuds and everything, title wins, and then look at like, go look at where they are now,
Mhm.
so forth. So pull my notes up. So let's paint the picture time wise. It's summer of 2004. For me, I was just graduating high school, so getting ready to go into college. And Team Canada is part of the X Cup tournament. What do you remember about the X Cup tournament?
So the X Cup tournament I really enjoyed, where I believe it was 4 or 5 members of each team, and usually it's 4 teams in general, and usually it's Team USA, in this case Team Canada, Team Mexico, and I believe Team Japan as
I
well.
think we had a Japan. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just remember Mexico won the first two, like right out the gate, they won the first
yeah,
two.
and this was around the time where TNA was flirting with partnerships
Mm-hmm.
when they were there, because I believe they had a partnership with the CMLL.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe they had a partnership and a very early partnership with New Japan, but I'm not sure if it was at this era they had a partnership with New Japan. It
I don't
might have
know.
been it might have been Noah at the time or All Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's because you get them for a little bit and then there's nothing ever. You don't see them again. And of course, later on, you get people like Okada who makes an appearance before he is,
mhm.
the
Even
Okada that we know now.
yeah, even Tanahashi made an appearance
Hmm.
before we know him as Tanahashi.
Hmm.
Sonata was the
Oh
great
yeah,
Sonata for a bit. So it's like a lot of like well-known like New Japan names come through TNA before they hit it big in New Japan. It was part of their excursion, so
yeah,
to speak, where it's just like I just like the lore that Okada like he was treated so poorly with Okado being the Green Hornet sidekick
yeah,
that Scott D'Amore, when he was a part of TNA, had to personally apologize in front of the locker room. Like, Okada was like water in the bridge at that point,
yeah,
but Scott D'Amore still made it a point saying, "Hey, we're sorry we treated you
yeah.
like this." And the thing is, in TNA, Okada said he learned how to be a character there. Like, he needed a character to stand out. And that's where the Rainmaker was formed. So, who knew a Seth Rogen movie from 2011, 2010 was the opus of the Rainmaker?
You brought up Scott D'Amore. Let's start with Scott D'Amore. Like, we're gonna go through the members, but like, let's start with Scott D'Amore. I mean, I wasn't, with this whole show. Like, I wasn't watching TNA back then. I might see like here and there, but not enough to like be like, oh, if it wasn't somebody I didn't recognize, I probably wasn't necessarily paying attention back then. Because again,
Mhm.
getting ready to go to college, and then in college, like, and I wasn't, I didn't. It wasn't really even talked about much, at least around my circle of wrestling friends. But of course, later on, Scott D'Amore becomes the face and the spokesperson and the creative behind TNA, kind of reviving it from the downward spiral that was the Hogan Bischoff era. Um, but him as a character and him as this like manager of Team Canada, it's fucking fantastic, man.
He brings a lot of energy towards the Team Canada like group in general. Because I do remember very few things from my like watching like in my adolescence watching Team Canada, but I do remember Scott D'Amore like almost charging at the camera, going like side like just like attacking the camera almost like trying to hype up his men like they're going into battle. I remember the hockey stick with the
Yeah, with the flag.
Canadian flag too. So just like little tweaks and little spins on the we're not from America, but also they weren't like I don't want to say like they fall in the trope of the anti-America establishment that you see so many foreign
Yeah,
groups happen. They were
yeah,
just really pro-Canadian.
yeah.
And like they didn't they announced it. It's like, oh hey, we're Canadian, we're better than you. But they didn't like actively try to do like the un-Americans thing where it's just like
Yeah.
anything like that. It was more we're pro
It wasn't the
Canada. Yeah.
1997 Heart Foundation.
Yeah, So
Which, speaking of that,
mhm.
check out Wreckage coming soon. Myself and XLJ, we're going to be covering that. Hence the Hitman shirt today. Recording 2 Canadian episodes in one day.
uh it's gonna be a
Cheap
good
one.
one. It's gonna be a
Yeah,
good one.
yeah. But yeah, I agree. Like, it didn't feel like we're the anti-Americans. We hate like it. You hit it on the head. Like, they were just pro Canada.
Mhm,
But yeah, the hockey stick with the flag on the hockey stick was brilliant. That was
mhm,
that was freaking fantastic. Well, the initial incarnation of Team Canada is not necessarily who they are known for. The initial incarnation, of course, is Petey Williams.
mhm.
He's the captain during the X Cup tournament. Johnny Devine, Teddy Hart, actually, and then Jack Evans. So that's who we get in this first incarnation with Scott D'Amore. Teddy Hart makes perfect sense, adds a
Mhm,
little bit of a name to it.
mhm.
Scott D'Amore does such a good job of introducing these people that you would think that like you've been watching these people and know who they are. He announces them like Paul Heyman announces Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns, like with that gusto and what he believes in them. And um, like it, Team Canada made me a Petey Williams fan really fast.
Yeah, that faction was pretty much built for PD, for
Mhm.
lack of a better term, because he, like you said, he was the captain. And again, Scott D'Amore's conviction of believing in each and every one of these people was so strong that you're like, oh wow, all these guys are major names. Like Petey Williams, of course. I believe he did some work for D'Amore's Independent at the time. I think it was
Mhm.
him, Sabin, and Shelley were usually like the rotating three when it
I
comes
think
to
that was right. I
people.
was reading that the other day. Yeah.
Yeah, because like of course Saban Shelley being based off Michigan, not too far from the Canadian border, so it's like you're gonna have that interaction there. Um, they went on to do their own thing, which I'm sure we're probably going to cover later down the line. But then you had Teddy Hart, like you said, has a name to it. He was within the professional wrestling industry and was one of the first, I want to say, developmental classes. Like he
Mhm.
was in that same class with Kurt Angle, with the Hardy Boys, Albert,
Yeah.
uh, like in WWE. But of course, things didn't happen the way they probably thought about Teddy. But Teddy was still very young. I think he was like 17 or 18 at the time too.
Mhm.
But again, he has that Hart name being associated with it. You're going to get some prominence.
Yeah.
Jack Evans, again. Scott D'Amore was so convicted, like in Team Canada, made you believe that Jack Evans was actually Canadian,
Yeah.
which he is not.
He's not. He is
you
not.
know, and
Um,
Johnny Devine, he kind of floats in between groups during his stint with TNA.
yeah, like it escaped my mind almost like Johnny Devine, like where I am right now is with the Dudleys,
Mhm.
and it's like, oh yeah, you were in Team Canada, like that's you, like it just because he float, he was here and there.
Yeah, he was with the Dudleys. He was with Ravens group Serotonin.
Hmm.
He was like the camera guy for Alex Shelley at one point.
Oh
Like
yeah,
so yeah, he was bouncing a little bit of like because he was like a good like faction guy. There are guys where it's like you see like they're good like bodies to have in factions, and Johnny
yeah,
Devine was one of the first ones for Team Canada.
hmm, yeah. So, but like I said, that's not the incarnation that they come to be known for. They come to be known for um it's after the X Cup. The stable, Teddy Hart, they announced has an injury, but we never see him again, at least with Team Canada. But you keep Petey Williams as captain. You introduce Bobby Roode, who I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about Bobby Roode. He'll probably have his own standout episode one day. Um, we'll talk a little bit about his WWE stuff. Eric Young, who is a standout to this day, is a homegrown TNA loving, like had left WWE and is happier in TNA than he is in WWE, which I think now it's funny because they have a partnership. And but you kept Johnny Devine, but he was there for that 2004 2005 time frame, and then you add A1 after Devine has an injury. What do you think that in this early age of Team Canada that a Bobby Roode and an Eric Young add to this faction?
With both of them, it was more of the technical ability. Not saying that other guys weren't technical, but Bobby Roode, obviously, he had that classic WWE look that I don't think a lot of TNA wrestlers had at that time
Absolutely.
period, where it was just like, oh wow, you see this guy wrestle, it's like, oh wow, he's believable. Like it's like you see him, and it's like he could fit into almost any era that WWE has easily.
Yeah.
And I feel like he was put in there because it was a prominent spot, and he's put in a tag team with Eric Young. Now, Eric Young, when he first started out, he's not like the lovable goofball Eric Young we know him today, but he later
Right.
evolves into that.
Yeah.
And having a team with Bobby Roode and Eric Young, two guys who know each other very well personally, it's going to translate into the ring as well. And plus, it's to increase the tag team division and give Team Canada a bigger presence other than just the X division,
Mhm.
because I think you still need staples of different divisions of divide and conquer, like we see with so many other factions. So you could treat them seriously. So if it's not all the X division guys, it's not just Petey Williams and his friends. You know what I mean? Now it's like you have Petey over here in the X division, you have Bobby and Eric in the tag division, and you have Scott Demore hyping these guys up as next generational talents.
Eric Young to me is like it's still one of my biggest what ifs with wrestling. Like, man, it's Sanity should have been a bigger deal on
Mhm.
WWE television. NXT, when Hunter was handling him, perfect. The presentation, the intro, everything. And then they get to the main roster and womp womp. But man, like when he jumped over to WWE, I was like, he's going to be a freaking superstar. Like he
Mhm.
is going to be a mega star because he works different. He looks different. He talks different on the mic. Like I was like, and you could knowing even then having seen since then some of the goofball stuff of Eric Young. You brought it up before when we were talking about America's Most Wanted. The beer drinking championship, he can play that goofiness. So if Vince didn't like him in that, he could play something else and jump into that. So I was like, he's gonna jump through the roof. But yeah, and then I agree with you, Bobby Roode. Any generation, you can put him in the golden era. You can put him in the attitude era. You can put him in ruthless aggression. You can put him in modern day. He fits and could work with anybody. And I want him back in ring so bad, but I
Mhm.
know that's probably less likely. But
I believe he is cleared, but he's settled into his role as producer.
yeah, I mean, if you don't have to put your body through it, why do it?
Yeah, it's like if you could work with WWE and you're comfortable with how everything is, like why not? Like his career is also kind of a what if for me because his NXT run, great,
Yeah,
perfect, wouldn't
yeah,
change a thing about it. Thought he was a very solid character. Thought he had wonderful stories. Like there was the one with Ty Dillinger. There was the one with
Hmm.
Drew McIntyre, Roderick
Hmm.
Strong. Like he had like very like good, solid feuds within NXT. Then he gets called up to the main roster as a babyface. Now, I'm not saying that Bobby Roode is a terrible babyface, but it's like it's one of those things where at that time period, WWE was kind of struggling in the babyface department, where it's like they would go on for a couple years and then nothing would really happen, then they
Yeah.
turn him heel. And then like Bobby, he had the US Championship, he had the tag titles. He actually had a feud with Randy that I thought was fine. But
Hmm.
but the weird thing is, it's like both of them were babyface at the time, so it was just kind of awkward because you're like,
Yeah.
and you could hear it in their match at Fastlane, where it's just like you just hear like the crowd wanting to get invested, but they're like kind of like as Randy's been kind of cooled off at this point. Like this is, I believe this is post like not Fiend, Wyatt
Right.
family Randy.
Yeah.
So post like Jinder Mahal. So like he wasn't really like doing that much.
Yeah.
Then he had the team with Chad Gable, which kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Then he had shaved his beard to become like Rick Rude for some reson. Won the 24/7 championship. I did like his run with Dolph as the Dirty Dogs. I thought that was a good, fun,
Yes.
like solid
Yes.
tag
I
team.
thought that again, making chicken salad out of chicken shit, as some people say in this business. But yeah. I mean, I agree with you though. I mean, if you don't have to take those bumps and you're comfortable with what you're doing and you're happy with what you're doing, keep doing it. But I just would like to see you. He's such a good character. Like, I don't want to say like, hey, replace Adam Pearce, and I don't want him to replace Nick Aldis, but I'm like, he could be a GM for you. He could be a
GM,
yeah,
manager, anything.
yeah. Like he's such a good character on screen. Put him as a heel manager. Oh my god, like that'd be perfect. But we will get to a Bobby Roode episode. I'm sure we're going to talk about him more as we go on through here. But I mean, it was very clear from the get go. This group was designed to drive PD, Bobby, and Eric. Like I said, Johnny Devine, kind of just there. A1, I remember just being like, when am I going to see A1 in a match? And like, I swear he doesn't show up in a match until they break up.
Yeah.
Like I might have missed it, but it doesn't seem like he ever actually gets into the ring until the team is disbanded.
He was pretty much the precursor to Rob Terry. If Rob Terry didn't actually go into the ring, which a lot of people would want like A1 to like be like that bodyguard role. And with Rob Terry, it's actually funny. So this is gonna go a little bit off topic, but with Chris Jericho, if you remember when Chris first turned heel, the short trunks, the hair, everything like that,
Yeah.
and Lance Cade was his protege.
Yes.
His initial pick was Rob Terry.
Really? I didn't know that.
Because Rob Terry was a part of the WWE system. And then
maybe I did.
And then Rob Terry got released and he asked for Lance Cade because they pitched Lance Cade because there's the tie-in with the Shawn Michaels feud at the time. And unfortunately some bad breaks with Lance Cade that left him to be let go. But just like very interesting, it's like a little bit of a what if, where it's just like you had Rob Terry, who was a pretty prominent character within TNA Wrestling for a little bit. And then, he could have been a prominent character for WWE for a little bit if things worked out a little bit better.
Yeah. We get some. I mean, the stable gets some major title wins as a stable. PD wins the X Division Championship by beating, to me, the face of the X Division, AJ Styles. Yes, he wins the world title. Yes, he wins tag team titles and everything. But like, I am adamant. You don't have AJ Styles in TNA, that X Division doesn't work. It doesn't last. It doesn't stay around. We don't have it still to this day. Like, it's the feud early on, AJ versus Jerry Lynn, and it going back and forth between them. If we don't have AJ, then we don't have it. So PD coming in and beating him, big for PD, big for the group, and also for PD, it helps him establish the dominance that is the Canadian Destroyer, even though today it's a transition move other than Penta now using it as a Mexican Destroyer.
Well, I mean, it's like for the time period, it's one of those cool moves that it's like very eye catching because you never see it before, and because of like the whole time that TNA was about innovation, you see Petey Williams, he does this move, and you're like, oh wow, this is incredible. Like no one
Yeah.
else does a move like this.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely you see more and more people do it, and it kind of desensitizes the move from being special to another move. And I think I've heard Petey saying he's apologized for like like the state of like the destroyer, but it's like, there's only so much you can do, but it's like he was the first and the originator of the Canadian destroyer
Yeah.
and popularized it. And how many people could say that?
Yeah.
And
And
it's
modern day wrestling. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Jake,
So yeah.
I saw an interview with Jake Snake one time,
Mhm.
and he said, somebody asked him, like, how do you feel about the DDT being a transition move? And he's like, hey, as long as it's being used. But here's the thing. Yes, it's a transition move now, but it just makes it even better when I do it because no one kicks out of mine.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like Randy with the cutter, Sean with the super kick. You're gonna have people who are gonna have different versions of it and use it as kind of like how a suplex was or like a
Mhm.
back body drop was. But at the same time, it makes the move mean that much more if you finish with it. Which
Mhm.
is why when you have Alexa Bliss, when she was doing like the moonsault and the DDT, just adding her own flair as like a finish, people were popping a little bit more and just saying, "Oh, that's done." Like Ivar, he used the Doom Salt, where it's just like it's a big guy doing a moonsault, but it's like simple move, but the person doing it, you could believe
Adds
that
their
can
flair.
finish the match.
Yeah. He holds that X Division title for 182 days. So
Mhm.
half a year he
I
holds on to
believe
it.
he was the longest one at the time,
Mhm.
like the longest reign.
He does lose it to AJ. Um, but I mean, hey, there's in the X Division, there's no shame in losing to AJ Styles. But this was also the time where AJ was kind of in the X Division, out of the X Division,
Mhm.
like, oh, we need a filler, yeah, and they did that for Joe with Joe for a while too.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so he wins the X Division title, holds it for half a year. Great way to start out. Great way to start out. That was August 11th of 2004, and they debuted in June. So 2 months in.
Yeah, just like relatively quickly, just putting the title on him, giving the credibility of the group right away,
Mm-hmm.
and being like team captain, and you're holding arguably the most important championship within TNA. It's not a bad spot to be in.
No. And they followed up shortly after with the tag team titles. They won the NWA World Tag Team Championship against BG James or Road Dogg, whatever you want to call him, and Conan of
Mhm.
Three Live Crew. So not only are Bobby Roode and Eric Young winning tag team titles, they are beating some very established stars here.
Especially with Three Live Crew, because you have BG James, Conan, and Ronda Truth Killings, like all in that trio kind of faction that you had, and very entertaining guys, very featured guys.
Very.
And it's funny because I feel like TNA, they're in this place where AEW is kind of, and WWE started to get into once Triple H took over with factions.
Yeah.
You only have like an hour or so of television if you're TNA. So what do you do to get as most face time as possible with everybody?
Factions.
Factions, which is like like in you got Team Canada, Three Live Crew, and I feel like Three Live Crew was probably their more prominent rivals
Yeah.
because 3OK was a team that was so easy to root for, where it's like you have so many different people blended together with BG James, Truth, and Conan.
Yeah.
It's like one of those like peanut butter and banana sandwiches
Oh,
kind
I
of
love
mixed up
those.
where
Yeah.
where it's just like the combination might see like make you kind of turn your head a little bit and you're like, huh, okay, like that seems interesting, but it just works. And
It
that's the
does.
chemistry between BG James, Truth, and Conan. Granted, like BG and Truth, they
Pretty quick and Road Dogg. Yeah.
yeah, they teamed a little. Oh my gosh, you might have seen this on my story the other day because I was literally just watching it, like K Quick's debut on
Oh yeah,
WWE.
where he runs down and just starts rapping.
Yeah, it's not. It's even better than that
He
because
stops. He
like
stops the match.
not only that, he cost Road Dogg the European Championship by DQ, and they're like fighting off
That's funny.
Regal, and Regal is like the heel, but he gets 2-on-1 and he like runs away, and Truth is like, nah, you can't scrap anymore. We got to start rapping. And then like they just rap a live performance, and I'm watching this, and I'm just like Road Dogg's so happy to be rapping. Truth like, and I like the song. I like Get Rowdy.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, you just cost the man like a
Title.
European, like a championship match, and he's okay with he's just okay with
I
it.
remember watching it live. Like I remember it, and this guy runs down,
Mhm.
and they're like, "Oh, it's K Quick," and I'm like, "Who the hell is K Quick? That name has never been uttered on TV before."
Like I think he did like a Sunday Night Heat like concert with him and Road Dogg, and that's how he debuted.
Oh, okay.
So, but it's like at the same time, it's like you interrupt the match, you cost your friend the European Championship,
Title, yeah.
and that's how the tag team is formed. Like if that happened today, people would like lose their minds
Yeah.
over it. But it's like one of those things where it's like because it's not as prominent in the Attitude Era, like video packages, you know, people aren't gonna remember it. But I have like a memory of an elephant, so at least when it comes to wrestling, so like
I
I remember everything when it comes to it.
I have a decent memory even with wrestling. Especially, but I have a better memory of pop culture.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but so you would get gold on these guys very, very quickly. They won that they beat Three Love Crew. That was Victory Road 2004.
Hmm.
They don't have it long. They lose it right back to them 2 weeks later. So October 22nd, 2004, and they lose it back to them November 7th at Turning Point 2004. So it's a quick little, hey, here's some gold.
Hmm.
Good for a photo shoot where everybody in Team or the priorities of Team Canada, have gold. And they don't have them again. They do regain them at No Surrender 2005, and this time they defeat Bobby Roode and Eric Young defeat, who we just talked about on our last episode, or not last episode, but America's Most Wanted, one of our previous episodes.
Hmm.
And they held those again, short run. They keep it for a month, not even a month.
Hmm.
What do you think it is about these two that they're not keeping the tag gold on them?
I think it's because again with the faction, the within wrestling, if you're a faction, sometimes it goes towards the faction's the character, not the wrestlers that are a part of the faction, if that makes sense. I mean, if you want a comparison, look at LWO currently, where it's just like it's Rey Mysterio and friends. You
Pretty
know,
much.
it's like that's how they're portrayed. And now there's a lot of talent in there: Cruz del Toro, Joaquin Wild, Dragon Lee, all phenomenal performers. But you don't see them do anything individual unless they're on WWE Speed, and that's not a knock on WWE Speed, but it is a knock on these guys can be fleshed out characters if you give them the chance. With Team Canada, the heat was they were a part of Team Canada. It wasn't that they were their individual personas yet. We don't know them as individuals until Sting comes, and then Eric Young has that paranoia kind of character, and that's where you're like, oh, okay, he's slowly turning babyface here. With Bobby Roode, he's not really a character until Team Canada dissipates. And with Petey Williams, he not only was he the Team Canada guy, he was the Canadian Destroyer guy, the most dangerous move within TNA. So he was already made. So
Yeah.
out of like all those guys that we're mentioning who were priorities of Team Canada, it was Petey, then it was Eric, and then it was Bobby. I'm sure they had Bobby for bigger things, but in terms of character development, you didn't really have much in the way of that. And going back to them winning the championships, again, it was more Team Canada winning the championships, not Bobby Roode and Eric Young winning the championships.
Yeah. They lose them to the Naturals, and the Naturals are one that, man, I wish they would have stuck around. I grew to really like the Naturals.
I really liked the Naturals in TNA, and I mean they only did TNA. I did like that. I think their finisher was the Natural Disaster. You know that stunner, like an elevated stunner move.
Yes.
Where it's like I really enjoyed that.
Yes.
I like their theme song, their look. You know,
The little
this
thing
was
with the franchise, Shane Douglas.
yeah, they had like a very minute thing
Yeah.
that didn't go long term, but I remember like I was introduced to them like in between the Chris Candido and Shane Douglas
Yeah.
kind of manager role. I think they had Jimmy Hart as a manager like briefly, but it's like I don't
Very
remember
briefly, yeah.
like I don't remember them having a manager because when they switched to Spike TV, that's when they had them drop the championships relatively quickly to AMW.
Yeah.
So it's like my introduction, like, I remember the theme song. I remember being hyped with it. It was just like the perfect, like, early 2000s team
Yeah.
where it's like they dress the same. They you can't really interchange them, but they're still pretty talented guys. And I feel like if TNA were to like kind of focus more on the tag division, they would have succeeded a little bit more. But
Yeah, I agree with that.
again, they were more there to fill up the roster. And that's what Bobby and Eric were as well, because as you see Team Canada going further and further, they're less a presence within the tag division and more of like 6-man, 8-man tag team matches.
Yeah. Yeah. We definitely get those for sure. Um, key feuds and storylines. We touched on 3 Live Crew. That was probably the closest we really got to, a USA versus Canada, because they were
Mhm.
definitely playing up the, hey, look, proud Americans, camo, like all that versus the Canadian angle.
Yeah, BG being a part of the military in the
Yeah.
past too, with
Yeah.
his
Oh,
family. So
absolutely.
I believe they even have a flag match.
I
They
think you're
might
right.
have. They might have had like a flag match, and I think they had one with Team 3D as well.
They do with 3D. I know that.
Yeah,
I know they do with 3D.
I think it was like capture the flag, like 6 sides of steel, like
Hmm.
kind of deal. Which is like it's always funny because it's like they had like if I remember correctly, they had the 6 sides of steel, which is the cage, and they had the 2 flags like on either side, and you had to climb up and then unattach the
So many.
flag.
Let's add some difficulty on top of the difficulty,
It
just
kind of
for you.
reminded me of a Super Mario level.
That's a good analogy. I like that.
Or it's like remember like in one of the games, I think you have to like get the axe so like the floor under Bowser like causes him to fall into the lava. It's almost like that where it's like,
Yeah,
up, I win.
you have to get that to then do that.
Yep.
We talked a lot about America's Most Wanted.
Mhm.
Like, again, America versus Canada. There, you get tons of impact matches. You get No Surrender. We get Sacrifice, both in 2005. Um, really good chemistry. Of course, the hockey stick with the flag always comes into play with the
Mhm.
more. Um, you brought up Team 3D. Um, it it that this rivalry starts because they cost Team 3D their title opportunity.
Mhm.
Like, 3D Team 3D comes in, they're like, look, we've won every title but the NWA title,
Mhm.
and so Team Canada cost them that. This is Turning Point 2005. Um, Lots of heavy interference with this match. Like, oh my gosh, so much. But they get their revenge. Team 3D does, at least on them, for Final Resolution 2006, and it's in a tables match because it's the Dudleys, and why not? Um, Real quick before we go any further, like, um, never mind. I meant to. I put an X beside of it, so that means I don't talk about that point. Um, to me, with Team Canada, the matches were great, the characters were great, but the backstage interviews is what made that group to me and what made me really like them. Like,
Mhm.
I liked Demore as that vocal manager. Like, to me, it reminded me very much of Bobby Heenan, loudmouth, like, these are my guys and I stick by my guys, and
Mhm.
you know I will do anything to help out my team, my family. Like, but he gets all upset. Like, I don't know. Like, it reminded me so much of Bobby Heenan
Mhm.
with Scott Demore. But those interviews backstage. Um, but we got to talk about. I'm gonna let you lead into this because
Mhm.
I feel like he comes up in every episode. But it is TNA. Let's talk about Team Canada and Jeff Jarrett.
So before we move on to Team Canada and their association with Planet Jarrett, what you were saying about Scott Demore, what I really took out of it was like, he really leaned into the hockey coach kind of character,
Very much.
where it's like he's very much hyping up these guys, talking to them when they're losing, shouting at them, like, do better. And it really gave it that sports oriented vibe that I think TNA would lean into from time to time. When we would get the World X Cup, when we would get sports oriented stories, which is tough to pull off in wrestling, but I think the more really did lean into it well. But of course, Jeff Jarrett, Planet Jarrett is what the mega faction was known. So it's like you had him, Monty Brown, the Monster Abyss with James Mitchell, Team Canada, America's Most Wanted, basically all the established heel acts into one super group or association kind of faction
Mhm.
with it. And I think the magnum opus of this group was the Team 3D Funeral.
Oh my God. Oh, the Team 3D Funeral. That was beautiful. That that needs to be like on highlight reels to this
Mhm.
day for TNA.
The thing is, it's like I'm not like doing this to make fun of TNA, but they do funerals really well. Like this one, the Aces and Eights funeral. The thing is, wrestling funerals are always just poor taste. But at least it's like more of like at least within the context what TNA would do, it would just be the end of a group. Like
Yeah.
they would just like rent out a funeral parlor. They did the like I said, they did Team 3D. They did Aces and Eights. And if you want some trivia notes for that, the same funeral home for the Aces and Eights funeral was the same funeral they had for the Drew McIntyre promo during his build for his match with Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 40.
Really?
Yeah,
Well, that's a cool little bit of info.
yeah, yeah. You know, it's again, this is what my brain chooses to remember.
Hey, hey. I mean, I'd rather remember that than other
Yeah.
things. Um, do you think it was a waste to put them with? I mean, they were such a good little faction on their own. Was it a
Mhm.
waste to put them with Jarrett?
I mean, it's always going to dilute and neutralize the faction to a certain degree because then they're not the main focus anymore.
Yeah.
Jarrett's the main focus because, well, one, his name is in the group, and two, it's just like one of those things where it's like, all right, like I guess it's gonna gonna be like Team Canada is more like the tier one villains that you have to get through in order to get to Jared,
Yeah.
which is what some groups are. Some, and I talked to this with Husky Rhodes during our main
Oh,
event Mafia episodes, where it's kind of similar when World Elite had this super group union with the main event Mafia,
hmm.
where it's like two groups where you're like, okay, why are we uniting right now?
Yeah.
Like with at least with Planet Jarrett, it made a little bit more sense because you had the Jarrett and D'Amore connection in that Jared won the NWA championship at a D'Amore show,
Hmm.
like one of his shows. I believe it was Border City Wrestling. So I think that was like D'Amore, and like
That's
you
the one
could,
where they defeated Raven and it wasn't on TV, and
yes, yes,
all of a
yes,
sudden Raven's not champion anymore. And then
yeah, because they won the title back on
yeah,
Jarrett. Spike did. That was the story, but yeah, so it made sense why they would be in the group because of that connection, and I think it made sense for the story if they leaned on it a little bit more, but at this period of time, we were getting more like Team Canada versus it was 3 Live Crew, but now it's 4 Live Crew. And now the tension is not with Team Canada and 3 Live Crew, it's now with Kip James and
and
Conan.
BG, yeah,
Yeah, you know, and like the drama between Kip James and if he's gonna unite with BG James.
yeah,
So it's one of those things where it's like I understand you got to add the numbers in there, but it didn't really do much for them as a group because you already have Bobby and Eric and Petey who are just kind of trying to develop on their own. And I will say the Planet Jarrett stuff did start the Eric Young paranoia character.
yeah, great,
So it's just like there were things where it's like okay they separated themselves a little bit, but it's like Eric Young didn't need like Team Canada wasn't like the priority for that character. It
yeah,
was more like Team Canada wasn't the cause; it was Sting that was the cause of that character,
yeah,
and that's because like Eric Young, like as we'll talk about in a bit, is a tremendous performer no matter where he is on the card,
yeah,
and I feel bad for his first championship run and the reason why. He was allegedly given the championship with him defeating Magnus because he looked like another bearded wrestler who was booked like an underdog at the time in a different company. But again, he was then given another run with the world championship, and I think it was well earned and deserved.
oh yeah, absolutely. Well, we get to the the breakup and disbandment of Team Canada is so weird. They're only together for 2 years.
Yeah,
I mean,
not long.
it's not long, but a lot happens in 2 years.
Mhm.
Um, Jim Cornette, who is now acting like the office,
Mm-hmm.
as you say, like the on-air office mentality. They never say GM. They just kind of he's just running the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Calls Team Canada the ring, delivers an in-ring promo. He reprimands the group for their underhanded tactics and their constant cheating and double teams, triple teams. And so, as his way of cleaning up the tag team division, he is disbanding Team Canada on the spot. Like, goodbye, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's kind of a that's the best you got kind of thing.
Yeah, it's one of those things where Team Canada, it was meant to position guys in the same segment at the same time to get them some airtime.
Yeah.
But now you're at the point where by now Eric Young is about to be a fully developed character,
Yeah.
at least on the comedy side. Bobby Roode is
He's ready to move up into the heavyweight title picture.
Yeah, he's ready to do his own thing.
Or singles run,
Yeah, Petey Williams is going to transition shortly after. I think he does Maple Leaf Muscle a little bit after this. Maybe
he's gone for a while.
I know.
So this was, what did I say? When did they disband? This was 2006.
Yeah.
I'm in March or April of 2008 where I'm watching right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just now become Little Petey Pump.
Yeah.
So Maple Leaf Muscle has only been in the last couple of months. So, I mean, a couple years.
Because I know they did the Feast or Fired, and he won the one of the briefcases.
Yeah, like that.
So
was
it's he transitions into a more of a bodybuilding character.
Yeah,
a little bit, which is pretty funny considering he was the smallest one of the group.
Yeah, but he's the most cut.
Most cut, most athletic.
I love that tagline though. The Maple Leaf Muscle. I was like, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So, but it's like you were saying, I understand what they were trying to do with Jim Cornette trying to usher in his authority, where it's just like, look, you guys have been interfering, you guys are being too much of heels, essentially. We're to disband you. But the thing is, it's this later leads to an 8-man tag match where it was I believe the winner would get a championship match of their choice if they whoever they pin. I would just announce it as look, it's I want you guys to disband, but it's how they framed it was it's I'll if you guys want to go double or nothing with this group, you're gonna be in this 8-man tag match with 4 guys who've never teamed together before. If you beat them, whoever you all get championship matches, throughout the division. If you don't win, you're all disband.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have come out and said you're all disband right away. I would just say, look, if you want to play this game, this is how we'll play it. You guys want opportunity here? Fine.
Yeah. With no outside interference.
No outside interference. You get your 4 guys. I'll get 4 guys. If you win, everyone in this group gets a championship match. You lose, and then you're all disband. Call it because they would have double Jeopardy matches from time to time. So I wouldn't say it's oh, you're disband. But you could say, but how they portrayed it was, all right, you guys are disband. But you could stop that if you win this 8-man tag match.
Yeah.
Which I think was just more of or less everything the stipulation was kind of announced out of order, kind of, where it's just you already had the feeling okay, these guys aren't probably going to move forward with the group. And it was such a missed opportunity because you have the story of Eric Young potentially breaking free. And now Eric Young would be fine on his own, doing the don't fire Eric stuff.
Yeah.
And whatnot. But it kind of left Bobby Roode a little bit kind of to his own devices.
He had to figure out who Bobby Roode by himself was.
Yeah. And then he kind of had the Takeoff of Wall Street, character, had a cover of No More Tears, which was awesome.
Oh, God,
yeah. Thank you, Dale Oliver.
You get, well, I'm thinking Miss Banks right now because that's who he's with, but
Tracy Brooks.
Miss Brooks, thank you. Yeah, you get Miss Brooks. You get a very
manager.
Controversial storyline as he moves on with Booker T and Charmel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's Bobby was going to be fine regardless. It was just about having that character, and again, if you give him a little bit the Wall Street character, he would make it work.
Yeah.
And he embraced it too. And I think that's the best thing for Bobby Roode in every role that he's been in. He's embraced the role that he's been, whether it's a tag team, whether it was a tag team with Eric Young, James Storm, Austin Aries, as the Dirty Heels, whether it was being the group with Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian as Ego.
Oh yeah.
Like again, like Bobby Roode, again, one of the unsung heroes of TNA wrestling, in my opinion.
I
And I
agree.
feel like there were tremendous amounts of opportunities to make him the guy, but I just don't think TNA not only had I won't say they didn't have the confidence in him. I don't think they had the confidence in themselves to try to base it around him.
Yeah. It didn't help too. Like we talk about with Joe too. Like first you had Christian come in, and then you had Sting, and then Christian, and then Angle. So I mean, it's just like, and Booker T. Like you're getting these name drawing names coming in. It's hard to keep climbing that ladder and being
Correct. Yeah.
persistent. So
Yeah, it's just one of those things. But the ending of Team Canada, again, we just fell flat. Especially this is kind of like the swan song of Scott D'Amore as an on-screen presence and character.
Yeah.
Until he is the owner of, I guess, of TNA years and years down the line.
Yeah.
But I do remember all these guys. They had a segment, I think, on pay-per-view, like of them saying their goodbyes and Scott D'Amore saying nice things, except to Eric Young, saying Eric Young's the reason why Team Canada broke up, which I don't think is really true at all.
They did. They had a nice little,
which gave Eric Young a lot more of a babyface.
Oh yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, I think Team Canada did its job as, they weren't like upper, like top heels. They were like those transitional heels where it's like, you need a heel for the tag division, you need a heel for the X division, you need heels of the week for your weekly television show. Team Canada has you covered.
Yeah. I agree. It was weird to me. I didn't realize till it felt like I was watching them for a lot longer, but for only being 2 years, I mean, they were a big part of Impact during that time. Well, we talked a little bit about all of them as they went on. Bobby Roode, great success as they move on. World champion in TNA, world champion in NXT. While he was still in TNA, we get the we already talked about James Storm with America's Most Wanted, but he was part of Beer Money as well with James Storm. Petey Williams with little Petey Pump, and now he's a producer over. And you see him pretty often breaking up brawls on Raw, which is so weird when I see him. I'm like, "What up, Petey Williams?" And then
it's like him, Dykstra, Jason Jordan, just the most
Hurricane,
random people.
we talk about Eric Young, like successful growing from the paranoia character, and we get to where I remember the shock when he became world champion, and people were like, "What?" But it made sense, homegrown talent right there. And he moves into NXT, and we get Sanity, which was great. Main roster, not so much, and then he again, like kind of like Cody talked about, he bet on himself. Eric bet on himself. You know where I want to be? Sure, I'll go. I'm gonna go where I'm going to be happy working. And he went back to TNA, and that's where he is to this day. So, and D'Amore, I mean, yes, he's gone from TNA, which is very sad. I really wanted them to bring him in and have him work in the PC. I thought that he would be a great addition to the PC for mic work. He would be a great coach, business side of things. But he's got Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling back up in Canada. There's rumors floating around that other people are interested in bringing him in. But Team Canada, you got some stars out of them and some big names. So before we dive into what you choose for the next episode, anything else you want to add to this cake of Team Canada?
I think it's one of those things where it's like with Team Canada, it's one of those foreign groups where it's like you didn't need to overtly insult any country, where you could just be pro this like country without like tearing either. Obviously, you're gonna have like the flag stuff, where it's like Canada versus USA, but it's like you're gonna have that like World Cup scenarios anyway.
Yeah,
but it wasn't like oh, we hate XYZ, it's just being like very like pro Canada. It wasn't like outwardly hatred and a negative connotation of where you would see foreign characters in the United States promotions. And I think with Team Canada, they kind of brought like a sports feel with their unity, the jerseys, the matching gear, And again, it's one of those groups that I feel like developed a lot of talent to get to bigger and better things. But this was a good way for them to hone their craft before they went on to bigger and better things.
Absolutely. Well, before we pick the next thing, what? Go ahead, shout out everything you got going on, where they can find you, all those good things.
Let's see. So you could follow me at Retold Richie Mars on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Usually try to post daily on TikTok. My wrestling podcast is Wrestling Retold and Relive with Richie Mars on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube. New episodes every Tuesday. This week, it's going to be me discussing Jey Uso's championship run, if it was a success, if it was a failure, should have gone longer. Thoughts on Rikishi's reaction, just everything in between. And let's see, what else am I doing? Let's see, Gar's Bound for Impact. We also had World Championship Wreckage. We had the fantasy card matchup between me and MJ
Fantasy Warfare,
Duplessis.
yeah, absolutely.
Yep, again, this one was no holds barred, anything goes, no constrictions, no restrictions, just just your dream card. There it is. Again, one of my favorite things that I've done just because the creativity was just like so off the wall. And coming soon to North South Wrestling Connections channel, we're gonna do Raw or SmackDown, whose brand, where we're determining the definitive brand on all these stars who've been across Raw and SmackDown, and seeing what describes them the most. If they're more of a Raw guy or more of a SmackDown guy, and trying to give them their designated brand. If you were to retire them like Jersey style, whether it's a baseball,
cool.
basketball,
That's so
like
cool.
any kind of thing. Yeah. And we're going to have some guests you might be familiar with. So please check that out soon.
Yeah. Where you can make sure you go follow, like, subscribe, all those things to Richie's. He works his ass off. He works constantly. Like, I don't know when the man sleeps. But you can find me, Dad Hat Wrestling, all social medias, World Championship Wreckage, all social medias. Give us a thumbs up and a subscribe. There's stuff other than just wrestling on here, which we've all got different interests. Like, we've got me and Mike covering the reality TV show Survivor from season 1. We just finished season 2. That episode will be out here in the next couple of weeks. But there's other things coming down the line. I literally just talked to people about 3 different type of shows coming to the channel today, and they literally, my Instagram box is flashing at me like how many messages I have. So I'm going to respond to that after the show. But there's a lot of stuff coming to the channel, stuff that we've got already here. Thank you guys for the support. We love you. Well, Richie, it's your time. What are we talking about next time here on Bound for Impact?
I feel like this man is in the news a lot, and I feel like we need to give him a good service of covering him and his time in TNA. We're going to go for Ron the Truth Killings.
I like it. I am totally down with talking about that because I have not talked about his TNA stuff ever. So I'm excited about that. So Ron the Truth Killings, not our truth, Ron the Truth Killings. Put some respect on his name, and we will talk about him next time on Bound for Impact. Later, y'all.